I'm going to go star up to begin with Jake Ferguson. That was a top, maybe the top or a top 2 dog moment that we've seen from a Cowboys player this year. Getting into it with little number 6, who I thought should have been called for helmet to helmet. Then getting into it with Jamal Adams. Then giving it to Jamal Adams with that, man. I believe technique-wise. Now, obviously, fat, slow, short. I'm not keeping up athletically. But I believe technique-wise, I could defend an NFL pass better than Jamal Adams, who looks like he's trying to stand out there on ice.
He gets turned around on every play.
He has no idea. It's like somebody with no arms trying to catch a pop fly. That's what I think of. And Peyton says, "Oh my God, that's not going to offend anybody." I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it. No, you didn't say it. You'd have to dump it if you said it. But Jamal Adams then gives up the touchdown to Ferguson. But that was the number 1 dog moment for me. I think that got Cowboy fans the most hype in their living rooms, in their cars, in the stadium, watching Ferguson give it right back. I did not realize he had that in his temperament. 6 for 77, 12.8 yards. It felt like more than even 6 for 77, to be honest. Touchdown, a long of 17 on 8 targets. Jake Ferguson, big, fat, star up young man. Man, I was proud of the emotion, Bob.
He was really, really good last night and came up in some big moments for them. And like you say, the edge that he played with in this game, which we don't see it on display a lot. I think you can sense it a little. Like when we talk to him in Oxnard, I think you can tell like he's a bit of a brash personality. And so I don't think that he's just going to take much trash talking and John and pushing lying down. And he said, after the game, he was the one they stood up against the wall for the interviews first. And they were asking about what was with the trash talk? What was with all the John back and forth with everybody? And he's like, I was just making sure they knew it was first down. I was making sure to show them that we got the first down.
I wanted Haley to be proud of me.
Yeah, he was like they were talking a lot of trash. I was making sure they understood that we had picked up the first down. I am star up on that specific play. I don't know which ref it was. Whichever ref decided to keep the flag in his pocket, because I was certain he was going to flag him for pushing off on Adams, just the way they called that game all night.
Me too.
And you watch every single play. Michael Gelkin at the Dallas Morning News had tweeted this. We reached a point in that game where after every play, you immediately looked and were like, is there any, like if it was a bad play, you'd look and go, anything to bail you out here? And if it was a good play, you go, all right, where's this going to get ruined? Where's this going to get called back?
Now, these were 2 of the most penalized teams in the NFL coming in.
Mike McCarthy's teams always are.
And so Pete Carroll's going to be chippy. Pete, now don't be talking smack about Mike this early after they dropped 41.
I wasn't.
Yeah, you were. Don't be a jackass. All right, you came in picking a fight with Choppy in the commercial break.
I did.
Don't start a fight 3 minutes into your on-air time. Ralph James, star up, star down.
Star up Jordan Lewis, baby.
Yeah.
They don't win this football game without Jordan Lewis. They won this game because of him in the fourth quarter, in part. He came up with 2 huge plays. One was on, third down on a pass breakup, and one was on a fourth down.
I mean, 2 of them were definitely on a third down. I can't remember if there was a fourth in there as well, but he had 2 big pass breakups on third down in the fourth.
And listen, that was always going to be the I thought going into this game, the target was going to be Jordan Lewis. He was going to be the guy that gets picked on.
Sure.
You got 3. I mean, they have 3 really good receivers. And you usually pick on the weakest link, but they went after the wrong play a lot. But yeah, star up. I thought Jordan Lewis at the end was spectacular in this game. And he was a major reason. He should have gotten a game ball. I hope he did.
We talked a lot this week. Not only when we talked about Seattle, but I mean, like we did on Love the Star as well, that was the guy that you were concerned with. That was the guy that they could potentially pick on. And he was those 2 pass breakups, especially on third down, because I think they started the game 8 of 9 on third down. And it felt like didn't matter. 3rd and 1, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 12. Seattle was passing every time they got into third down because they were like, we don't trust that you can stop what we want to do in the passing game 3 times in a row. And so for Jordan Lewis to come up big in those big moments, I think was huge.
My star up defensively goes to a guy, and to me, it's not even a debate. I'm giving props to Jordan Lewis. I thought this was going to be the biggest play of the game. I thought this was going to be the turning point. It did not end up being so after CeeDee Lamb had the 4th down drop. Big freaking star up, Tank Lawrence.
4th and inches. They snap it. It's Charbonnet, and he stopped short. DeMarcus Lawrence. Donovan Wilson in the backfield, a huge tackle for loss, and a turnover on downs gives it back to Dallas with 7:04 to play.
Tank had a rare pressure earlier in that series. Again, still 0 sacks against Seattle and that offensive line. They were down 5 with 7 minutes left. He then had a 4th and 4 pressure with 3 minutes left. And Tank Lawrence, the Dallas Cowboy defensive lineman who showed up the largest until Micah at the very end goes unblocked. So I had to give Tank Lawrence his defensive star up for me.
It felt honestly a little like, and I know the running game was not the same, but as a Longhorns fan, the USC game years ago in the national title, when they had 4th and 1 late in that game, I turned off the TV because I was like, they're going to convert this because Texas just has not been able to stop anything all night, and they got the stop. It was the same thing last night. I was watching that 3rd down play. I saw it was going to be 4th and 2 or whatever it was. I knew Seattle was going for it. I didn't even bother to stop and watch the play. I was like, I'm walking to the next station because they're going to convert this, and I'll see what happens on the other side. And I turned the corner just in time to see D-Law make the play. But
very simple handoff for Seattle.
Yeah, it was like it felt like, and I can't remember specifically. It looked like it was like almost a stretch run. Like it wasn't even any sort of like quick toss or anything else. It was like a very slow developing play, and so Tank just like massive there with how much they'd struggled to get people off the field.
And then, of course, 2 stars up to the guys that continue to make offensive history. You know who it is.
Dak under center, followed by Lipke and Pollard. He fakes it to Pollard, steps up, throws back of the end zone. There's CeeDee Lamb, tumbling, but he gets both feet down. Touchdown Cowboys, and they retake the lead in the first.
Chop, the MVP hype train is at full steam this morning, and you're going to see it on all the first fake shows. And then you got to give CeeDee Lamb's stat line: 12 for 116 on 17 targets, 9.7. He had less yards per catch than Schoon, Turpin, everyone. Ferg,
except for Gallup.
Cooks, Tolbert.
0.0.
Everyone except for Gallup. Stars up, obviously, the combination of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, star to that, but I'd also star down also to this part. I do not want that CeeDee Lamb. I do not want 9.7 a catch. I do not want to turn him into a possession receiver. He's far too good for that. If he goes 12 for 116 in a game against San Francisco, that's not a great thing. That's a volume thing. He was really good last night. I just don't want them to turn him into, hey, we're going to get you the ball 3 yards down. Like I don't want that.
He had 2 carries for 30 yards. This was his 4th straight game scoring a touchdown. He did have the 4th down drop, but there is one thing I do know about CeeDee Lamb, and this even happened, I can't remember whether it was early last year or the year before, when CeeDee had some drops. There was a lot of Cowboy fans saying, get the 88 off of him. No one will admit that. They all conveniently forget it because they don't have to own up to their receipts. But there were a few weeks, there was a stretch where people were saying CeeDee Lamb is not the guy. And I now know it is a 1,000,000% guarantee he will respond after a drop. He owned it. He said it was my bad. And he came back and he did respond. So CeeDee Lamb, star up, and we'll get to Prescott more here in a second.
I was not like half a star down though which drop that he responded to? Because he had the 4th down drop, then he has the touchdown drop. Did you feel the touchdown drop wasn't enough of one?
That wasn't enough of one. Okay. That was God almighty, was that a throw? If CeeDee Lamb catches that, that might be Dak Prescott's best all-time throw. The ball was there. I thought it was a tough play. There's 2 defenders. It was catchable. I'm not giving him a star down for that. I'm giving him a star down for that dropped on the sideline. What did you think of that one? You know which one I'm talking about?
One of the goal line, right?
Yeah.
With 2 people.
Yeah,
I mean, it went through his hands. It was in between them, and it was. I don't think he saw the ball. I don't think he saw the ball until it was right on him.
Because he had to move his hands a little bit back. I wonder if his arm kind of blocked him out for a second. I mean, that was a really good throw. That was a really, really good throw. It was a tough throw to make, though, and it's tough to expect that throw to be there. For one, it's also tough to expect that catch to be made. I mean, you're in traffic and everything. I don't know. I probably have a major issue with that.
CeeDee in the 7 games since Richard Sherman said he was overrated, not a bona fide number 1. I love The internet goes and gets everything. Here are the stat line, and we'll get to Richard Sherman a little bit later on. Since Sherman said that, CeeDee, 63 catches, 824, 6 receiving touchdowns, 12.8 yards per reception in the 7 games since.
Don't forget also, he iced the game with that 24-yard run. Had 30 yards on the ground, too, so had about 150 yards from scrimmage in this one.
It wasn't totally iced because of the fourth down decision to throw to him, which we'll get to in a little bit, instead of maybe running the football or taking Brandon Cooks underneath. And
that's the next star up, is Brandon Cooks. He deserves a ton of credit for it. This is what he does. Even in the games where he has 4 catches and 40 yards or whatever else, you always go back and go, but he came up with massive moments. And what you had in this game is on his 4 catches, 2 of them were third down conversions and another one of them was a touchdown. And he had the 2-point conversion catch too, which he had to adjust to, turn back to, and make the catch. I thought Brandon Cooks, for what looks like a pretty thin stat line overall, was really, really good yesterday.
Since the San Francisco game, David Hellman tweeted this. Cooks has averaged 63 yards a game with 5 touchdowns since that loss. He is involved. Thank goodness.
It coincides. His emergence coincides with the Cowboys' offense.
Yes,
clicking on all cylinders. I mean, it really does. Yep. And you know, were some of the teams bad? Yeah, sure, fine. But you still got to emerge at some point, and he did. The first 2, they were terrible. The Giants game. The Giants are terrible. The Jets are not very good. And he wasn't there. He's been there since. They have figured something out.
Dak, 6th straight game with 2 or more touchdowns in the first half. That ties the 3rd longest streak in history. He saved Terrence Steele's ass in the 4th quarter. My Olay. I got to come up with an Olay reference, Galloway style, for Terrence Steele.
Come on, Dorn.
Terrence Steele gets saved with the Dak play to Jalen Tolbert. He had a big 3rd down throw to CeeDee Lamb there. Since week 8, Dak Prescott has thrown 20 touchdown passes. The next highest amount from quarterbacks are 10 from Justin Herbert and C.J. Stroud. Since week 8, he has doubled the 2nd highest touchdown thrower in the National Football League, Dak Prescott, on this stretch.
My expectations, honestly. I put a lot into this game. I prepared my ass off. Got amazing coaches and players around me right now doing the exact same. So I just really think that's the expectations that I have for myself, the standard that we've created as an offense, and how we're comfortable in playing this game. So numbers are numbers. They're always going to kind of be that way. But in the sense of getting to the right play, making the right reads, trusting the ball, letting the ball go in the windows to the receivers that I am. That's really what I look at. And so at the end of the day, it's about the preparation and the work that I've really put into this thing. That's just coming fruition, I guess.
All right, let's go star down here on Shan, RJ, and Roberto. And we have to start, of course, with DaRon Bland. 73-yarder. How much of that was on Donovan Wilson? The internet was trying to blame a little bit of that on Donovan Wilson for turning the wrong way, not being there for support. Where do you stand on that?
So DaRon Bland did undercut it a little. Like he shares responsibility, but that's 80-20 Wilson to me.
Oh.
Like Wilson was out of position and Wilson was way too shallow. And there was nothing behind it. Like the whole his job title is safety. He is the safety net back there. And if he's out of position and way too shallow, he didn't have enough depth on that route. And that's what really allowed DK Metcalf to catch and run like he did. So I think most of that one was on Wilson.
The catch and the run part was probably on the catch was on DaRon.
The catch is Bland. The touchdown is Wilson.
DaRon Bland allowed this in the first half. 5 catches, 137 yards, and a touchdown in 6 pass attempts. I just wrote down his night. DK got to 22 miles per hour, by the way. DK then had a 34-yarder on Bland. There was that was McCarthy that I wrote down there with that little DK on DaRon again. Lockett, the wide open drop where he left Bland in the 4th quarter. That was a huge, huge mistake in the 4th. DaRon gave Lockett a huge cushion before the half. A humongous cushion, and they couldn't understand that. Herbstreit was like, what the heck is he doing there? JSN turned Duran around in the fourth quarter. He did have the interception, but what do we make of Duran Bland's night right after he was celebrated with Dak Prescott as NFC Offensive and Defensive Players of the Month?
Not much. It was pretty bad, man. Like I don't care. The interceptions that make up for that. All the completions he gave up and getting worked all night long. That was pretty eye opening. Like that was one to forget. He was having himself a night and not in a good way.
Mike McCarthy on Duran Bland's evening.
I mean, this is an excellent offensive perimeter group that came in here. I mean, we had a lot of respect for what we saw in the game plan process, and we were just. It's football. They went after us, and we went after them, and at the end we got it done in the fourth quarter. But yeah, they definitely, went after the one-on-ones outside and hit some plays.
Ryan Clark tweeted, Duran Bland is going to see deep throws and inside routes the rest of his days. Bobby, was this more fluky, or did the Cowboys have a cornerback problem moving forward here down the stretch?
Well, I mean, they do have a little bit of a cornerback problem whenever you're going to play anybody with three receivers, just because Gilmore has not been consistent this year. There have been games where Gilmore's been really good, and then there have been other times where he's not good at all. And so that one is just what version of Gilmore are you going to get? Lewis yesterday had the two big plays, but he still gave up some stuff early in this game, and he's given up stuff all year. Bland is still one of the better corners in football. Like, he's been picked on the last 2 weeks. He's had a couple bad performances, but that's not been him this entire season.
Is he okay, let's just what kind of from a coverage standpoint?
Seth Walder had, through the first 9 weeks of the season, he had allowed the fewest yards per coverage snap in the NFL.
So that to me stands out as the difference and biggest factor in the Diggs versus Duran comparison. Diggs 2021. And some of the nicknames last night, of course, that I had for Duran. Maybe these are my headlines I'm giving away for 720. Duran burnt, Duran Diggs, 2021 Trayvon. Most first half yards allowed in the league by any secondary player last night. Duran Bland.
Oh.
Going up against Metcalf, going up against Lockett, going up against JSN.
Yeah, now DK might just be a nightmare matchup for him personally. And I can see DK being a nightmare matchup for anybody.
Sure. Yeah, how much do we write off to the receivers, the quality of them? But it felt like the passer rating being thrown at, all those numbers are much better for Duran Bland this year than Trayvon Diggs 2021. Would I be correct and right about that? Duran Bland's PFF rating, take it for what it's worth, I would guarantee right now
much higher than
Diggs was 2 years ago while he was getting all those interceptions.
Yeah, now Diggs, even at the time, was too often, I think, dinged or given blame for some of the coverage stuff that was on other people, that he was nearest defender, and a lot of that got on his tally. That's one of the things the Cowboys that entire year would complain about when you talk to him about the PFF grade, is that they'd say PFF does not have any clue who was assigned to that. It was not Diggs on a lot of those where they are crediting him with it. And so but he definitely gave up chunk plays. He was double moved, off of the ball several times in that year. So that was, he got burned occasionally. It was a giveth and taketh away sort of thing. But Bland has not had nearly as much of that. The last 2 weeks have been not great, but for the most part, he has not been picked on the same way at all.
Because real quick, Washington saw something to made them want to target him.
Yeah, they were the first team this year that said, we're going at him. That's our preference.
Look, if you, and like I've always said, I prefer coverage over the interceptions, but if you love his interceptions, you can't get mad at last night. You just can't. You have to deal with the swings and misses.
But I disagree with that premise, because last night was not jumping stuff to me. He was
the first one I thought was.
Getting, I didn't see what you saw where he had a near pick on it.
He went in front of DK.
He played. I think he misplayed. I don't think that was super aggressive. I think he misplayed it.
I just saw him getting left.
He also
last night was not Marcus Peters jumping for pick sixes. He was getting smoked. He was getting left.
I think that, honestly, that one on the first one, I think that's a technique thing where he's thinking Wilson is behind him, so he is going to slide in front. Like, he thought he had safety net. He didn't realize, okay, if I dip in front of this, there's no one behind me because Wilson's playing it wrong. I think that's what you had there. But
perhaps
he definitely, The Washington game, Washington was not torching him. They were picking on him. They were getting 10 to 12-yard chunks at a time where they said, all right, hit it, we'll get it. This was Seattle going, we are going to take shots on him.
The bad one was the Lockett one, where he turned him around. It was just a simple fake out, come in route, and he got turned around.
But you've had Ron Rivera, their OC, Bieniemy, Pete Carroll, his OC, in the last 2 weeks have said this in their meeting room. We're not all this hype, all these interceptions. It's fool's gold. He can be had. That's the game plan. We're going to target him. All the fanfare and all the Metroplex and everyone is giving him the roses. No. We see what's really happening. We see something that can be exposed. Even though the passer rating against and being thrown at has been excellent for Bland this year. It's been excellent. 877-881-1053 for your star up and star downs here on 105.3 The Fan. We're going to take some Cowboy phone calls at 6:40 as well. Anyone else want to put a final bow on that?
I will say Did
he talk after?
He did. I was not at his locker for him talking because I was getting Ferguson. But Bland is a guy who I think last night specifically is going to be a unique set of circumstances because they have three very different types of receivers, Seattle, three good receivers, and they line them up at different spots and can pick and choose their matchups based on whatever they want. They really do have a chance to be a really good passing attack if they can consistently block and Geno's being consistent.
Cowboys did not allow a 100-yard receiver in their first 10 games. They've now allowed one in 2 straight. Curtis Samuel got him 9 for 100, and DK was at 2 for 107 in the first quarter. So
it's not very good.
Oh, a 70-yarder.
Yeah.
A 70-yarder, big chunk, right? All right, other star up, star downs that you had. Let's throw them out there before we hear from the Tolos.
Star down, and he had played so much better the last couple weeks, but star down Terrence Steele.
My gosh.
That was not a good performance. You were looking for your Randy Galloway type of name, maybe Turnstile Steele.
Turnstile.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's probably what you're getting right now.
What's up with him?
I don't know, because the last couple weeks he's played a lot better, like in pass protection and the run game. He's been good, and so
when he misses too, like these are complete whiffs.
Yeah, the one in the fourth
quarter,
going
right around him.
The one in the fourth quarter was not good, and yesterday I thought the offensive line was not great in general. I thought that was a pretty rough game in spots for Tyler Smith, who's been really good this year. I didn't think that was very good. So offensive line in general gets a star down for me with a particular highlight on how Steele performed.